you haven't quite adjusted in about a week to local time. This is the truth. Not the whole truth, that would be a lie. There is no whole truth, just piecemeal insights and epiphanies, scratched from parks and alleys, from vacant lots, from schoolyard walls and subway shadows. But this is the place where the pieces fit, where my truth, your truth, the truth of strangers flash and fuse to a bright whole, a shining mosaic, a stained glass icon, a votive light of pure faith. And in this light, this truth, nobody will kneel, nobody will bow their head, nobody will apologize, nobody will beg forgiveness for being alive. Instead, we'll testify to our shared selves, our shared truth, our shared pain, our shared love, the blood pumping through our shared heart and our shared messed up, beautiful humanity, aloud in our unique shared voices, forever and ever. This is the truth. I wanted to start with that because I wrote that after coming here last year, and I'm thinking about all the different voices and the different takes on life that I heard here. I'd like to do another one that was written on a trip to the States a couple of years ago. When I come over, it's generally to pass through on the way to Michigan, where I go every year to a conference, and then back again. And I was in a tiny little place, in a bar in Michigan somewhere. And the only thing I think I need to explain to an international audience here is there's a reference to the Winter of Discontent, which when I was growing up is a political thing in Britain. It's when there were so many strikes and we only worked for 3 days a week, and the lights kept going off and you had to buy candles and oil lamps and things. It was brilliant as a kid. It was absolutely marvellous. This is called Roadside. Oh, it shows its age as well. It starts off a smoky bar. When did that stop? It's quite, yeah, oh, anyway. A smoky bar. All the world's here in small measures, inscrutable strangers, blank behind neat labels. Stedka vanilla? No thanks. Buffalo Trace sounds worse. Last time I saw something the colour of Bombay sapphire, it was in a lamp during the Winter of Discontent. The staff looked like athletes, football or beach volleyball, depending. Cigarettes carry no warnings, master-crafted blend of only the finest hand-picked Turkish, like Bogart smoked, looking cool before he discovered cancer. The TV shows adverts with the same turn down. It's some highway that led me here, straight and empty, barreling rain blind through ghost towns, chasing the white line from night to drink alone in a small town cheap hotel. How far are we from Chicago? Asks a woman at the bar. Halfway, answers the barman, not looking. That one, and a couple of things I'm going to be reading in my, however long it is, because I forgot to look when I got on, are from this book that's come out called The Ringmaster's Apprentice. It's called The Ringmaster's Apprentice because the ringmaster is the guy who does everything and controls everything, and his apprentice is someone who really kind of like to. But can't yet. This is a poem that's the title poem of the collection, and it's sort of about adolescence, and adolescence is that period that starts at about 12, 13 and goes on probably until you die, I think. About when you trying to get things together and you don't quite. At the first scent of autumn, she pitched her tent, unfurling her rags and her old colours, her hand-me-down gauds staining your neat fields. As sure as days grew shorter, she stretched her threadbare canvas, hoisted flags, erected cages away from the paths. With pained and patient fingers, she sewed constellations of teardrop sequins to snatch your eye from telltale holes. For days, you never saw her, working somewhere inside, but you might have heard her, distantly humming fairground tunes. Late at night, you'd sometimes catch sight of her, heavy pails in hands, staggering to feed her hungry, restless beasts. As leaves fell, the air grew hard, choking on grease paint, burnt sugar, wood smoke, sweat, and expectation. Unsure on your own land, you approach, raise the tattered flap and enter, tentatively take your ringside seat as she paces the perimeter of a silent circle, to no applause, no cheers, no roars, no brassy fanfare or cymbals clash. Now, spotlights converge, colours blending to fringed white as she takes her place facing her audience of one, opening her scarlet mouth as wide as a lion's, her tongue a tightrope where promises dance like careless acrobats falling into fire. Thank you. I'm going to read one more, after which we're going to do something a little bit crazy. I read at the gallery last Wednesday, and before I came on, they had a tape, whatever young people call tapes these days, and it was playing some strange feedbacky thing, and well, that's kind of interesting. So I was about halfway through, and I said, could you just turn that on again, and we'll make music happen. And about 10 minutes ago, I took a willing volunteer from the audience, Jane, who said she'd come up and have a go at something, and we'll see how that works. But I'll read another poem while she's panicking and leaving the room. This is called After Party. Yeah, the book, The Ringmaster's Apprentice, which has a ringmaster on the front, imaginative like that. I do have copies for sale. I'll mention it now because I might forget later on. This isn't from it. It's called After Party. It was a big house, grand, a lot of land, and I couldn't remember who invited me. There were tyre tracks on the lawn and the carpet, but the party was winding down. Tangled bodies on couches, on the landing, in the flower beds, while a few of us, jittery with crystals and capsules, were tensely relaxing. Then someone said, read us one of your poems. So I pulled out a couple of books and flipped through dog-eared pages. But I didn't recognise any of the words, and my eyes blurred over unfamiliar phrases, and there was an awkward, jerky silence until someone said, look, are you a poet or what? But by then my mouth was dry as I'd licked my sour, powdered finger, leafing frantically through hazy titles I couldn't even focus on, with everyone getting restless. And all I could think of as the room spun sideways and was your smile as you'd left hours earlier, your arm resting lightly around someone else's waist. You are very, very nice. Jane, would you come up and play a few chords for us? I have to say, marvellous from Jane and Celeste, wasn't it? So, would you just like the opening of that absolutely and we'll lower her range. I've become, by then, used to the strange, overfamiliar with the chaos and metamorphosis that had become the almost tiresome norm. There have been warnings. Scientists predict if we don't change now, our last chance. But no one listened, or if they did, no one heard. Those same warnings had rung out for decades, decades in which millennial prophecies proliferated and predicted apocalypses came and went with bland frequency. Newspapers reported the occasional whale in the Thames, sheep with two heads, a Carly child with spider legs. But they were brief distractions, page fillers for lazy tabloids. There was always something more serious, the potential boiling point of countries just beyond the borders of popular imagination, or ever-present the economy. Who's getting more than their fair share? Who's getting your share? And as we fretted over fat cats siphoning off the richest cream and a shadowy underclass bleeding the country dry, who noticed for more than a moment when the light-hearted item at the close of the tea time news became darker, more primal, more biblical? When starlings fell from clear sky, or when the dust, the colour of blood, scabbed on cars and windows, the office gossip was full of it, but by lunchtime it was forgotten. So it barely piqued my curiosity when, bundling home one February evening after an uneventful day at the office, I saw that a shape I'd taken to be a bin bag from a distance was actually a seal. Such things had happened a lot a few months previously, but the stories had slipped from the news as viewers lost interest, needing new distractions. That we were 70 or more miles from the sea didn't even cross my mind. I just wanted to get home, get warm, and eat. As I was passing, it half rose up and looked directly at me. Well, we've all seen the photos and the streetlight glinted on those inkwell eyes, familiar from Sunday supplements and greetings cards, that seem to study me with intelligence and maybe even compassion. Well, it wasn't an epiphany as such, but for a couple of minutes we were still looking at each other. And I hadn't noticed until then that it was raining very gently. So I raised my face, parted my lips, tasting the metallic sharpness. And I watched a bright drip bulb out and drop from one of the seal's whiskers. And perhaps I should have said something, but blasé as I'd become, I still didn't expect talking animals. So I just stood until it slowly lowered its head back to the pavement, closing its eyes. And I'd like to draw some moral, some significance, but after a last look at its dark form, I carried on home. But I didn't think about it as I pushed open my warped wood door, calling a tired greeting to the emptiness. And then, later, as I caught sight of my own dead eyes in the bathroom mirror, I thought of those other eyes and wondered if they had been trying to tell me something. Jane! Oh, we got to, that was awesome. Thank you. Like the mood. Yeah, I come from York in the north of England, which a couple of people have heard of, a couple of people don't know. And it's a medieval city. And, you know, we've got roads that still follow the path that were laid down by the Vikings in the sort of 9th, 10th century. But the important thing about York is that when very famous people get into problems and probably tax and all that sort of thing, they fake their death and come to live there. I found this out while I was, I play a bit of music myself, and I was at a folk festival. And I was talking to someone who suddenly pointed, surprised, and said, "Look, it's Andy Warhol playing banjo." And I turned, and it was, with an unconvincing wig and black rimmed glasses. And there he was. And there are many people like that. But I moved into this house that I live in now about 7 years ago. And the important thing about it is Elvis lives next door. His hair's now white, cropped close. He sports a neat goatee, wears loose trousers in the garden, a sweater that's thin at the elbows. Sometimes he smokes a pipe. He's lost a lot of weight, looks better for it, more healthy than he did in the 70s. Now in his 70s, he smiles rather than sneers, his lip curling to a private joke. Keeps himself to himself, though he's friendly enough. A regular in the pub on a Friday night. I didn't suspect it was him until once, after a couple of Guinnesses, he got up for the karaoke, swiveling his replacement hip as he hollered Jailhouse Rock, amazed us all. Later, in the restroom, I had to ask, "Are you?" I let the question hang. He turned from the sink, fixed me with his steady blue eyes, shrugged his shoulders and said, "Uh-huh." One celebrity you haven't seen yet is Michael Jackson, but it'd be hard to tell, really, with all the scars and things. This is a Michael Jackson poem. I was sort of relatively well when the news came that he died. And I know people had extreme reactions in different ways, but I was just never a fan. So it sort of largely passed me by. There are a couple of references in here that may be culturally specific, so I will explain them. Jarvis Cocker's arse. Arse, that's what we say in Britain. We may say ass over here, but arse is the word we use for the posterior. During a particularly grandiose performance at an awards ceremony in Britain, Jarvis Cocker dropped his trousers and waved his backside at Michael Jackson and was bundled away by the security. The other thing I need to mention perhaps is Richard Thompson, who is one of our great singer-songwriters, who has written a song called Dear Janet Jackson, which has a bit of a sly dig at Michael. It was written before his death. So there are two things you perhaps need to know. This is called Bad. From Ben to Billie Jean and beyond, he passed me by. Messianic videos, statues almost the size of his ego, even Jarvis Cocker's arse. Somehow I hardly even noticed. Trial by tabloid I couldn't ignore completely, but apart from a sly dig in a Richard Thompson song, nothing crossed the rainbow bridge from his Neverland world. So when he died, I ignored the tributes, skipped the scandals in the morning papers and turned to the real news. But there was a photo, a young boy, maybe 12, maybe younger, big-eyed, black-skinned, before hysteria, before surgery, before accusations, smiling. And I remembered a song, trite and pure, about young love and sharing the world from back in the day when I was young and smiling and I wanted to be a star. And I missed the details and I don't know who was right and who was lying, but I thought about that young boy singing that simple song and all the damage and all the pain that followed. And what I did know was that I was glad I wasn't him, and sad that he never had the chance to be anyone else. Yeah, I'll read two more, two entirely different things. First one, I'd just like to read a poem about cats. You know, because, you know, cats are sort of saying, you know. This is the Alchemist cat. And I don't know if there are any cat enthusiasts here. My life would be a lot worse without cats in my building. It's called the Alchemist cat. The philosopher's unblinking stone, I am sublime, my substance refined, distilled to quintessence of silence. Self-contained in my crucible of inscrutable darkness, yet I'm the movement you almost see, the shimmer at the corner of your eye, the flood of shadow beneath your feet, the quicksilver claw. But when you look again, I am elsewhere, transfixed, reading secrets in blank air, staring beyond human understanding. Eternal youth, watch me play. Seriously, look and learn. I burn my books if I were you. Settle by the blaze, curl arroborean, and let firelight transmute my amber eyes to gold. And, I love clapping, it's great. I'll just read one more. I was going to do a little sequence of still, quiet things, but it's not a still, quiet place really. So but I will try and get a little bit of gravity around the words here. This is a piece of advice, and it's from the book Come Up to Me, Buy Books, Buy Books. You know, I've got a flight to pay for it.
He's a poet.
It's passing over. And when you reach the border that isn't on the map, get dressed as soon as the labourers break into your compartment. And when they start removing the floor panels, try not to meet their eyes. And when the smart man asks you to fill in forms in languages you do not recognise, as a young boy in a crisp uniform crawls through the luggage racks, try not to dwell on the way you skim the small print in guidebooks you should have read more closely. And though when they lead you silently onto the foggy sidings at 3 a.m, you will inevitably recall cheap paperbacks and grainy movies. Try instead to consider what you truly believe and whether or not it is what they also believe. And most importantly, when the elderly woman with too much makeup, sitting stiffly in the overlit, overheated hut, the only person who smiles and speaks your native tongue, makes a simple demand. Make sure you are carrying exactly what she asks for. Thank you.
That is Oz, and I think that we neglected to mention that when you buy a product from any performer on this stage, whether they be the feature or the open mic performer, we give you your $3 cover back. Support the arts, whether it's from around the corner or around the world. Please, another round of applause for Oz. You doing okay? You good? You having fun? You all right? There's like 5 more names here on this list.